Hi guys, welcome to ANIMEized. This is the English translated version of the novel throneofseal. The novel differs slightly from the Chinese animation or donghua. If you want more of these videos, please smash the like button, subscribe, and turn on the notifications. Enjoy and have a blessed day.
Unlike the forest serpent king, they cannot solve the petrifying rays issue through shedding their skin. At this moment, not only did they resolve their own worries, but they also resolved troubles for the forest serpent king, making the collision between these two mighty beings even more intense, and Long HaoChen is becoming less anxious. Once again, he retreats into the dense fog, giving a brief instruction to Holy Guard number 10. Then joining the hunt for the elite snake demons. However, to avoid detection by the snake demon god ANIMEized, Long HaoChen remains very restrained, trying to suppress his light attribute as much as possible, relying solely on his sword intent to kill enemies. His powerful perception allows him to navigate the swamp's poisonous fog as if his vision were normal. Wherever he goes, snake demons wail continuously. He intentionally avoids the forest serpent, and the originally non-partnered sides surprisingly coordinate to some extent. Of course, Long HaoChen won't let the elite snake demons he kills sink into the swamp, as these are at least 5th-rank snake demons. And whether it's the body or the inner core, both have considerable value. Something brother medicinal pills will undoubtedly appreciate. However, these snake demons are, after all, the elites of their clan, and after the sudden attack, following a brief panic, the leading snake demons continuously emit sharp howls, using sound as a guide, summoning other snake demons to gather together. As a result, even though their vision is unclear, just a dozen or so injured forest serpents are no longer a significant threat to them. Long HaoChen can only hunt some snake demons on the periphery, not daring to get too close. The concentrated attacks of so many powerful snake demons together are still extremely formidable. Moreover, he cannot expend too much, as an even more critical battle awaits him. At this point, the snake demon god ANIMEized no longer cares about his own kin. As for him, there is nothing more important than killing the forest serpent king. It's an opportunity to elevate his cultivation, an excellent chance to advance to the 9th rank. In his eyes, the forest serpent king is already the best nourishment. However, the forest serpent king is not easy to deal with. Its massive body emanating an emerald-like green light, although under ANIMEized's attacks, it continuously accumulates scars, its colossal life force being its best support. The enormous body twists constantly, attempting to entangle ANIMEized's body, while its huge mouth gapes wide, forcing ANIMEized to handle its bites carefully. In fact, the forest serpent king facing ANIMEized, even with the existence of the demon god pillar, it shouldn't be at such a disadvantage. Although the forest serpent clan lacks powerful skills, they possess a tremendous vitality not found in other magical beasts of the same level. Even if their bodies are severed, they may not necessarily die. However, the forest serpent king suffered a significant loss. When its inner core was hit by the demon god pillar previously, this is why it has fallen into a disadvantageous position. At this moment, a dark red halo has emerged around ANIMEized's body, even though his body has become massive after transforming into a demon god. He remains agile and nimble, wielding a pair of snake spears that swiftly move up and down, creating wounds on forest serpent king without allowing it to interfere. Aren't you strong in vitality? Then I will deplete your vitality completely. Simultaneously, ANIMEized is wary of the inner core of the forest serpent king, so he doesn't dare to use his full strength, knowing the cunning nature of the forest serpent king from a previous encounter. The emerald green blood has already stained the swamp with the same color as the two powerful beings engage in combat, and the momentum of the forest serpent king has noticeably weakened. With the support of the demon god pillar, dark spiritual power seems endless. On the snake spears, spewing out a dark red radiance extending up to 3 yards, he doesn't even need long-range attack skills. His massive body leaping and attacking relentlessly, he inflicts injuries upon the forest serpent king using the most fundamental, direct, and vicious methods. Finally, the forest serpent king can't endure any longer. With a sudden roar, the emerald green radiance erupts once again, spewing out. ANIMEized's spirit has been in a state of high tension, waiting for this moment. Suddenly, a flash of black-red radiance appears on him, and his body unexpectedly vanishes into thin air, reappearing directly behind his demon god pillar. Undoubtedly, he was waiting for this opportunity, hoping that if the inner core of the forest serpent king hits the demon god pillar once again, he would surely turn the advantage into victory. However, just as ANIMEized has been calculating against the forest serpent king is also strategizing against him. The emerald green radiance only leaves his mouth by about a meter, but immediately gets sucked back in, never truly erupting, and then the massive body of the forest serpent king dives directly into the swamp mud. The swamp is the true territory of the forest serpent king, and the reason the forest serpent king hadn't done so previously wasn't because it didn't want to but because it didn't dare. With its massive body, even if its strength is formidable, diving into the swamp requires time. In that brief moment, ANIMEized could inflict severe damage upon it. Therefore, this time, It's Andumili who fell for it. Using the instant return teleportation ability of the Demon God Pillar, he dodges to behind the Demon God Pillar, naturally giving the Forest Serpent King ample time. Moreover, the teleportation of the Demon God Pillar is not something that can be used casually. After each use, there is a long cooldown before it can be used again. This form of teleportation is not an innate skill of Andumili, and it can only be used within a certain range of the Demon God Pillar. Otherwise, if the Demon God could teleport when attacked outside, humanity would have long been in trouble. This nearly infuriates Andumili, but by the time he realizes it, the massive body of the Forest Serpent King has completely submerged into the swamp, and all Andumili can do is vent his frustration on the swamp mud, giving it a powerful blast, finally dealing a certain amount of damage to the Forest Serpent King through the mud. The Forest Serpent King submerges into the mud, like a fish returning to water, and its presence instantly disappears. The two mighty beings engage in a strategic contest, each employing their tactics, and it can be said that neither can completely suppress the other. Andumili is also extremely cunning. Observing as his opponent disappears, he immediately swings his massive tail to entangle the Demon God Pillar in front of him, pushing his body upward, climbing out of the swamp ground, leaving the swamp ground. As long as he relies on the Demon God Pillar, his strength can be maximized, and the Forest Serpent King will be greatly weakened. In the absence of a clear understanding of the enemy, he can still make prudent choices, unaffected by his own emotions, truly deserving to be one of the 72 demon gods. The Forest Serpent King did not show its head to attack again. It is evidently waiting for an opportunity, and the previously intense battle suddenly calms down. Powerful spiritual energy fluctuations circulate in the air. They both know the other is watching, but neither dares to make a move. At their level of strength, once dealt a fatal blow by the opponent, it would be difficult to turn the tide again. The Forest Serpent King had been threatened to the point of life before. If not for Andumili being deceived, it might have been suppressed to death. Andumili's brain rapidly engages. Senses fully activated, a pair of snake spears pointing to the ground without any slackening. However, he quickly finds an opportunity. The massive body of the Forest Serpent King disappears into the swamp, revealing the cave blocked by it before. This cave is already large from a human perspective, but from the perspective of the Forest Serpent King and the currently demon god transformed Andumili, it is not very spacious. The diameter is about 3 meters. The entire cave is woven with vines, extending deep into the swamp, and faint light seems to emanate from the cave. Undoubtedly, life is more precious than treasures, and when faced with a life-threatening danger, the Forest Serpent King abandons guarding the cave. A cold smile appears on Andumili's face. So you're hiding? Well, I don't believe you'll truly give up that cave. The treasures inside this cave are already one of Andumili's targets, whether it's killing the Forest Serpent King or discovering the treasures. Both are excellent outcomes, making this journey worthwhile. After locking onto the target, Andumili does not rush to act. Clinging to the Demon God Pillar, he takes deep breaths continuously, and layers of black radiance start emanating from the Demon God Pillar, being absorbed into his body like a whale sucking in water. His own momentum suddenly continues to rise, and the spiritual energy consumed before recovers at an astonishing rate. That's why they say the Demon God next to the Demon God Pillar is the most terrifying. Andumili is ranked last, but with the support of the Demon God Pillar, he actually suppresses the 9th rank Forest Serpent King. The massive body begins to coil up, and behind it, a pair of enormous black wings slowly unfold, the wings emitting a dark red hue, and you can clearly see dark red veins pulsating through them, accompanying Andumili's breathing as they open and close. Watching as he is about to return to his peak state, Andumili finally takes action. His coiled-up body suddenly springs out, like a dark red lightning bolt rushing towards the cave entrance. The distance from the Demon God Pillar to the cave is only 200 to 300 meters. With his strength and speed, coupled with the assistance of the wings behind him, he arrives almost instantly, attacking where the enemy must defend. This is a strategy indeed, forcing the Forest Serpent King to submit to the strategy, unless the Forest Serpent King is willing to give up the treasures in the cave. Obviously, the Forest Serpent King is unwilling to give up, just as Andumili is about to rush to the cave entrance. A strong green light suddenly erupts from the swamp, rich green light mixed with a layer of green-black spiritual power condensed, unexpectedly forming into a solidified entity. For the things inside the cave, the Forest Serpent King is also going all out. It's truly because the existence inside that cave is crucial for it. Since Andumili dares to make a move, already prepared, the dark greenish-black light is the Forest Serpent King's full force sprayed out inner core. While spraying out the inner core, the Forest Serpent King's large head also emerges from the swamp. A bizarre scene unfolds. Surprisingly, Andumili pays no attention to that inner core, but instead, he swings both spears simultaneously, stabbing towards the Forest Serpent King. No matter how cunning the Forest Serpent King is, it never expected Andumili would dare to confront it head-on. Its original plan was just to scare Andumili away. The inner core of a 10th rank magical beast, is it so easy to endure? Don't be fooled by the fact that the Demon God Pillar didn't shatter. If it had landed on Andumili, it would have been fatal. However, everything happened too quickly. Even if the Forest Serpent King wanted to change its attack, it was too late. Boom! Roar! A violent rumble and a mournful roar almost simultaneously occur. The rumble comes from the impact of the Forest Serpent King's inner core. The powerful inner core hits right in the center of the snake demon god ANIMEized's chest, causing a tremendous explosion, tearing apart its entire chest, creating a terrifying hole with a diameter of over 2 meters directly through it. The Forest Serpent King is not doing well either, and ANIMEized's spears directly pierce above its eyes. Greenish-black blood mixed with black plasma scatters and flies in all directions. There is an instant strong stench of blood in the air. Both sides injured? No. It was a strategic competition, and in the end, ANIMEized emerged victorious. ANIMEized, with his chest pierced, falls into the swamp with a bang, but his massive body quickly transforms into numerous black-red rays, flying towards the direction of the demon god pillar. And ANIMEized's original 5-meter-tall body appears on the other side of the Forest Serpent King, and the two spears that pierce through the Forest Serpent King's head gradually shrink. The externalization of the demon god transformation, another powerful ability brought by the demon god pillar. This scene was clearly observed by Long HaoChen, who had stealthily returned to the edge of the battlefield. He couldn't help but take a cold breath. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he would never have imagined that ANIMEized possessed such a powerful skill. Using himself as bait, he launched a fatal attack when the enemy had to come to the rescue. ANIMEized's calculations were indeed precise. The Forest Serpent King finally fell into the trap. However, ANIMEized is not in good shape either, dark red blood continuously flowing from his 7 orifices, making his already ferocious appearance even more sinister. Everything happened so quickly. No one expected such an ending. However, the battle is not yet over. The Forest Serpent King, with its head critically injured, crazily writhing its massive body suddenly lifting large chunks of swamp mud, a terrifying surge of spiritual power erupting at an astonishing speed, as if hundreds of magic cannons were simultaneously bombarding the area. Long HaoChen dares not stay here, quickly fleeing the scene with Holy Guard number 10. The counterattack of a dying 10th rank magical beast is truly terrifying. ANIMEized flaps his wings, flying in the air, astonishingly concealing his breath, shrouded entirely in darkness, not allowing even his blood to drip. In fact, for ANIMEized, utilizing the externalization of the demon god transformation is a severe strain. Both in terms of the short duration he can't transform into the demon god and the harm to his essence. Once this ability is used, he cannot transform into the demon god again in a short period, and it harms his essence. It's not as simple as it looks, unlike how it appears to Long HaoChen. Similar to a spiritual furnace, the more powerful the attack is, the more powerful the backslash would be. If there were a choice, ANIMEized would prefer not to use this last resort ability of his, but he has no other option. If playing it safe, scaring away the injured Forest Serpent King, and obtaining the treasures within the lair. However, he is reluctant to give up the Forest Serpent King, a significant supplement. Therefore, he must eliminate any chance for the Forest Serpent King to escape, only able to use himself as bait, launching a deadly attack. The frenzied struggles of the Forest Serpent King lasted for nearly a quarter of an hour. However, ANIMEized's gathering power for this strike was exceptionally powerful. No matter how powerful a magical beast is, when the brain is pierced and ravaged by dark spiritual power, it's challenging to have any chance of survival. The Forest Serpent King's enormous vitality quickly slipped away from the massive wound. At this point, ANIMEized was not in a hurry, despite the heavy losses this time, with 4 Medusas killed, but the gains were equally substantial. Just thinking about advancing to the 9th rank, at least being ranked among the top 48 of the 72 demon gods, made his heart burn with excitement. Moreover, he didn't know what treasures the Forest Serpent King guarded in that lair. Whatever it was that the Forest Serpent King valued so much, it couldn't be ordinary. Thinking of this, ANIMEized's body involuntarily twitched due to excitement. Finally, the struggles of the Forest Serpent King became weaker and weaker, to the point where even its inner core fell into the swamp without being swallowed back into its abdomen. Its massive vitality had also dwindled to almost nothing. ANIMEized breathed a sigh of relief, the intense excitement in his heart becoming uncontrollable. Looking at the inner core, now devoid of the Forest Serpent King's aura, ANIMEized couldn't contain his inner ecstasy. Folding his wings behind him, he silently descended towards the swamp's surface. Regarding his lone strike, ANIMEized was still confident. Moreover, he had complete faith in his perception abilities, confirming that there was indeed no trace of the Forest Serpent King's aura on the inner core. A 10th rank magical beast that had even abandoned its own inner core could only mean one thing: its soul had permanently departed from this world. Silently landing in the swamp, ANIMEized reached out and grabbed the inner core. Of course, he wouldn't absorb the Forest Serpent King's inner core here. Although it was a treasure, the spiritual power it contained was too vast. He would have to wait until he returned to his lair to slowly absorb it, using it as the foundation to break through his own bottlenecks. With the inner core in hand, and feeling that there was not a trace of the Forest Serpent King's aura on the inner core, the snake demon god ANIMEized's tense spirit finally relaxed. After such a long time, he had finally achieved his goal, and the wild joy in his heart was beyond imagination. However, as the saying goes, joy turns to sorrow. Just as he had relaxed his guard, the seemingly lifeless forest serpent king suddenly moved. Its massive head, already soaked in blood, suddenly swung to the side, viciously striking Andumili's back. Bang! Andumili's body was thrown out like a broken sack. Spewing blood from his mouth, one could clearly hear the distinct sound of bones breaking on his body. This is Andumili, a snake demon god, his body extremely flexible, with exceptionally high external spiritual power. This allowed him to dissipate most of the force during the attack. However, don't forget that he is currently injured, and he is no longer in the demon god transformation. A 10th rank magical beast's dying strike is by no means easy to deal with. The change happened too quickly. As the saying goes, a centipede may die but not stiffen. Although the forest serpent king suffered a fatal blow, it also harbored deep resentment towards Andumili, concealing the last bit of its life force. And even severing the connection with its inner core, it lured Andumili into a trap, ultimately launching a deadly strike. After completing this strike, its life finally came to an end. Surprisingly, its massive body did not sink into the swamp. Andumili couldn't have anticipated this, and even the observing Long HaoChen couldn't have expected this. He had already prepared to take action, but this sudden turn of events truly caught him off guard. With a quick thought, Long HaoChen had a plan. These two cunning and sly fellows ultimately ended up hurting each other. For him and his companions, there couldn't be a better opportunity. In an extremely brief moment, Long HaoChen had already made up his mind, signaling to Holy Guard number 10 beside him. Holy Guard number 10 instantly transformed into a blue light. Not to pursue the heavily injured snake demon god Andumili, but directly towards the cave with a faint shimmer of light. This is called treating others as you wish to be treated. Just as Andumili dealt with the forest serpent king before, now Long HaoChen would deal with him in the same way. Andumili suffered a backlash from the dying forest serpent king. This impact sent him flying hundreds of meters away, continuously spewing fresh blood from his mouth, even breaking one of his wings, dark red blood staining his entire body, a pitiful sight that is hard to bear. However, he is still a demon god, able to save himself in the moment of the attack, and fortunately, the forest serpent king's final blow wasn't powered by its inner core, so, although heavily wounded, it wasn't fatal. He smashed a vine from a distance, crashing into the swamp, experiencing intense pain, almost making him faint. He never expected that, even in death, the forest serpent king would still plot against him. However, the inner core of the forest serpent king flew far away in the violent collision, rebounding off a thick vine, falling into the swamp in the distance. Like the body of the forest serpent king, its inner core did not sink into the swamp either, but emitted a faint greenish glow. In the midst of unbearable pain, Andumili happened to see a blue light flying towards the cave. The blue light wasn't very fast. At the moment he saw it, it was about 5 meters away from the cave. Roar! Andumili roared in extreme anger. He didn't even see clearly who the potential enemy was, and his body had already soared again, rushing full speed towards the direction of the cave. The blue light wasn't large, clearly not the forest serpent. But no matter who it was, running out to take advantage at this moment, how could it not anger the snake demon god? However, Andumili's roar wasn't just venting frustration, but a call to his kin. It wasn't cowardice, but caution. At this moment, he was heavily wounded, so naturally, he couldn't be careless. Although he couldn't sense any threat from the blue light's spiritual fluctuations, he still immediately initiated the call. Thick dark red blood continued to drip from his body, and as he flew towards the cave, he hesitated a bit, but with the golden light swiftly catching up to the previous blue figure, entering the cave and emitting a white light that forcefully pulled the inner core of the forest serpent king out, Andumili could no longer remain calm. All his targets were taken advantage of by someone else. How could the snake demon god tolerate this? Amidst the roars, he charged towards the two figures that had entered the cave. Just as Andumili entered the cave, figures emerged from the thick fog, and the snake demon seemed somewhat embarrassed at this point. With the ambush by the forest serpent combined with the attacks from Long HaoChen, their numbers sharply reduced, and upon hearing the call of the snake demon god, they hurriedly rushed over, just in time to see Andumili disappearing at the entrance of the cave. The snake demons quickly rushed towards that direction, but it was at this moment, another golden figure closely followed Andumili into the cave. A purple light flickered, and a huge creature appeared at the entrance of the cave, completely blocking the cave. A silent spread of earthy yellow light expanded beneath the snake demons, covering a wide range, and as these exhausted snake demons felt their tails sinking, their bodies sinking into the swamp, only then did they panic. But they found out a bit too late. Just as they began to struggle, the swamp that had trapped their long tails suddenly hardened. The once soft swamp mud became incredibly hard. Vaguely, there is a layer of shimmering light on the surface, resembling gemstones, and mixed with a hint of chilling forest coldness, causing their bodies to numb. Two figures quietly appeared in the distance, both wearing a large cloak, yet emitting different colored lights. One is yellow, and the other is blue. They are none other than the Holy Guard number 9, proficient in earth magic, and the Holy Guard number 11, skilled in ice magic. Holy Guard number 11 deliberately lagged behind Holy Guard number 9 by half a step, allowing one to see that, although they are both Holy Guards, their positions are different. Holy Guard number 9's gravity magic combined with solidifying earth, and Holy Guard number 11's frozen miles formed a large-scale earth and ice hybrid magic. This magic can be said to be a combination of 3 7th-tier spells, and its formidable power can be imagined. Here, one can see the difference in strength between Holy Guard number 9 and Holy Guard number 11, both being 7th-tier powerhouses, but in the same amount of time, Holy Guard number 11 only cast a 7th-tier spell, while Holy Guard number 9 cast 2. This is the peak strength of the 7th tier. Among all of Long HaoChen's aides, undoubtedly, Holy Guard number 9 is the most powerful. During the Tower of Eternity, Caier's ambush, combined with Holy Guard number 9's underestimation of them, led to their success with just one move, and in a true test of strength, even with Long HaoChen and HaoYue, they might not necessarily secure a victory against this formidable Holy Guard number 9. Generally, elite snake demons with 5th or 6th tier cultivation were instantly immobilized under the effects of these powerful 7th tier magics. The swamp is soft, but can it solidify into rock? Their bodies sink into it. Struggling to escape isn't that easy, only with broken stones. But with broken stones, who can guarantee not to harm oneself? Moreover, they weren't given the chance for broken stones, frozen miles combined with solidifying earth, as firm as steel, not something that can be easily broken free from in a short time. For snake kind, coldness is already one of the things they fear the most, and snakes hibernate in winter, precisely because they cannot generate heat themselves and fear the cold. In extreme cold, these snake demons in front of us are shivering all over, with their strength greatly reduced. Next, it's time for the performance of these two great holy guards. One by one, giant stone golems emerge from the ground, rushing fiercely towards the snake demons. Simultaneously, an ice and snow storm follows. The mage's destructive power is undoubtedly the most terrifying in group battles. Furthermore, on the other side, right at the entrance of the cave, there is that enormous powerhouse, HaoYue. After HaoYue blocks the entrance, its 5 large heads spew powerful magic like 5 magic cannons. The first round is an assault, followed by various elemental magics. In controlling single-element magic, HaoYue is evidently incomparable to the two great holy guards, but it possesses a full 5 attributes. These 5 attributes are used at different times, and their powers naturally differ. For example, at the moment, Shaoqing, Xiaolan, and Xiaoguang become the main combat force, while Xiaohua completely abandons attack, only vigilantly observing the surroundings. As for Xiaozi, it inhales the dense poison mist in the air. It can be said that at this moment, it's like 7 7th-tier mages facing these heavily injured snake demons. At the same time, as these snake demons undergo the magical baptism, giant blue figures begin to emerge from the forest. The Forest Serpent King is dead, undoubtedly making the snake demons the sworn enemies of the Forest Serpent tribe. Although each of these massive forest serpents is covered in wounds, at this moment, they still charge back into battle. Leveraging their massive bodies against the cold, they forcefully charge forward. Braving terrifying magic, they still launch suicidal attacks against the snake demons. Although the number of forest serpents is small, however, their resistance to magic is not something snake demons can compare to. When these forest serpents appear, it foretells the tragedy for the snake demons. The situation outside has already stabilized, but what about inside the cave? Undoubtedly, the first one to enter the cave and attract the attention of snake demon god Andumili was Holy Guard number 11. It was none other than Holy Guard number 11. At that time, it wasn't because his flying speed was slow, but because, under Long HaoChen's command, he deliberately slowed down to let Andumili see him. Otherwise, how could they lure him in? Andumili and the Forest Serpent King were both injured, and this opportunity was too good for Long HaoChen to miss. It was something he absolutely couldn't let slip away.